Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning Fingerpicking Etude number 16. So as you heard, it's a fun, upbeat bluegrass duet with the U-bass. So if you do play U-bass, Steven actually has the U-bass lesson up on his channel, so you can click that link to check it out. So in addition to doing U-bass lessons for us here on rockclass101.com, he's got a lot of really cool content over on his channel, so be sure to give his channel a browse too. So with this lesson, there's two really big takeaways. The first is that it serves as an excellent practice for developing speed with hammer-ons and pull-offs. And secondly, there's a backing track that you guys can download. So you're going to be able to download the U-bass backing track, and we have it in 3 different speeds. We have 100%, 75%, and 50% speed. So it's a great opportunity to jam alongside another instrument. So I think those are going to be the 2 big takeaways with this lesson. Now, speaking of this lesson, we're actually going to be teaching the entire ukulele part in this YouTube video. But if you want to get those assets, and there's also the complete tabs that you can print off and follow along with, if you want to get that as well, it's going to be available right here. Or you can go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Fingerpicking Etude number 16. So in addition to the tabs that you can print off, the backing tracks that you can download, there's also an on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, watch the tabs scroll across in real time. You can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Steven to teach this lesson, and then I'll see you at the very end of the video.
Hey guys, Steven Cox here, and today we're going to dive into this bluegrass duet. So the first thing we've got to do is learn the main riff that repeats throughout a lot of the song. So we're going to learn the finger picking pattern first. You're going to take your thumb and you're going to assign it to the C string. Your pointer finger on your plucking hand is going to be on the E string, and your middle finger is going to get the A string notes. Alright, so now that we've got our fingers assigned to the strings, let's jump into it. So the main riff sounds like this. First thing you're going to do is pluck the C string, then you're going to play the 3rd fret on the E string, then you're going to hammer on to the 5th fret on the E string, then you're going to pull off to the 3rd fret, and then you're going to play the open C string, and then you're going to play the 3rd fret on the A string. Now it might help to just leave your pointer finger down, barring the 3rd fret on the E string and the A string. Alright, so now that we've got the basic pattern down, let's play it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So after we play that main riff 3 times in a row, we've got our first fill. So our first fill is going to slide into the 7th fret, and then we're going to pluck it again, then we're going to play the 5th fret, and then the 3rd fret. So that fill just sounds like this. So we do the main riff 3 times, and then we do this fill. So let's play that together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to play that main riff 3 times in a row before the next fill. So that's the next fill. So what we're going to do for this one, we're going to play the 4th fret on the C string 2 times. Then we're going to play the 2nd fret on the C string. We're going to hammer on to the 4th fret on the C string. And then we're going to pluck the 3rd fret on the E string. Okay, so let's play from the beginning all the way up to this point, with both fills being on the last half of measure 2 and the last half of measure 4. So here it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to go back to the beginning of the song and play the first 3 measures, and then that'll take us all the way to the second ending, which has a slightly different fill at the end of it. So after we take the repeat, it'll sound like this. Okay. So once again, the first 2 measures that repeat are the same. The third measure is 2 times through the main groove, and then the second ending has 1 more time through the main groove, creating a total of 3, and then we're going to do this fill right here. So this is a C chord, but it's a very different looking C chord than we're used to. So this is going to be ring finger on the 5th fret of the G string, middle finger on the 4th fret of the C string, and our pointer finger is going to bar the 3rd fret on the E and the A string. So we're just going to strum down on that one 2 times. Then we're going to slide that whole pattern down a fret. So now our ring fingers on 4th fret of the G string, our middle fingers on 3rd fret of the C string, and our pointer finger is still barring, but it's on the 2nd fret of the E and the A string. So that's a C chord, and we're moving down a half step to get to the B chord. So the measure with that fill in it ends up sounding like this. So the trickiest part here is going from the main groove, the main riff, into that chord. You have to move really, really fast to get there. So you may want to practice just isolating that spot and going really slowly. But for now, let's just go ahead and play from the repeat all the way through the second ending. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's play through from the very beginning up to that point. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're at breakdown number 1. So breakdown number 1 starts with a B flat chord, which is that same shape that we were just doing for the C chord and the B chord, but now we're moving it down 1 more fret. So from that fill into breakdown 1, we're just going to do 2 B flat chords. So we end up with our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the G string, our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the C string, and our pointer finger is barring the 1st fret on the E and the A string. We're going to do 2 down strums on that one. Then after this, we're going to let go of the pressure of the strings, but we're still going to touch the strings. So this means every finger is still touching every string, minus your pinky. Your pinky's floating. but you're no longer pushing down on the frets. You're just lightly touching the strings, and the strings are floating off the fretboard still. So we get that sound when we strum. So that's like a muted strum sound. And after we do the 2 down strums, we let that pressure up and do 1 of those muted strums. So now what we're going to do is go back and forth between having the chord push down and then letting up the pressure to have a muted strum. So the whole measure is strum, strum, mute, strum, mute, strum, mute, strum. And if you feel like this isn't muting it enough, you can put your pinky down lightly over all the strings in addition to that, if you like a higher pitched mute rather than a lower pitched one. For me, it's just kind of whichever happens. I think just letting the pressure up is what I normally do. So after we do that, we're going to shift up to an F chord, but not the F chord that you're used to. So we're going to bar the 5th fret on the G string, C string, and E string with our pointer finger, and then we're going to play our pinky on the 8th fret of the A string. So that chord looks like this and sounds like this. But before we play that chord, we're going to do a muted version of it and then play it. So that muted strum gives us time to get from the B flat chord up to there. So you can kind of move your hands across the strings and get into position for the F chord while you're doing that. So once we get into this new F chord shape, we're going to do this measure like this. Mute, strum, mute, strum, mute, strum, mute, strum. So after we get through the F chord, we're going to go back to what's essentially the main riff, although we're still in the middle of the breakdown section. So we're just going to do this pattern. So that was 4 times through that original riff that we learned at the beginning of the song. So after we do that main riff 4 more times, we go back into the B flat chord, and we do the exact same measure as the first measure of the breakdown. And then we shift back up into that F chord. And that's the same measure as the second measure of the breakdown. So let's do this whole breakdown together now that we get the general form. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and that's it for that one. So the next section is literally the riff again, and this riff all the way through the first ending and the second ending is exactly like the original riff at the beginning with the same fills and everything. So now that we're through the next riff section, here's breakdown 2. So in breakdown 2, the first 2 measures are exactly the same as the first 2 measures in breakdown 1. We just got our B flat chord and our F chord. But now, instead of going back into the main groove, we're going to go to a C5 chord. And the way I like to do the C5 chord is I like to bar the 3rd fret on the E and the A string with my pointer finger. And that leaves these 3 fingers open to mute the strings in between when we're doing those muted strums. So we're going to go, first we're going to start with a mute. So we're going to put those 3 fingers down lightly over the strings are floating, and really the fingers are touching the strings, all 4 of them, so that you can, if you want to, leave the pressure down on the 3rd fret of the E and the A string. So that all you literally have to do is move these fingers to get the muted or not muted strums. So we've got... So I'm going to do it from this angle so that you can see exactly what's going on with these fingers. Mute. So then we're going to do 2 measures exactly like this with the C5 chord. And after we do that, we're going to go back to the B flat chord, and this time we're not going to play 2 in a row. We're going to do a muted one first, then we're going to play the B flat chord. So mute, chord, mute, chord, mute, chord, mute, chord. Then we're going to go back to the F chord once again. But instead of doing that normal pattern all the way through the measure, we're going to go mute, strum, mute, up, down, up, down. And when I started saying up, down, you're going to play the chord the entire time. No more muting after that. We're going to do mute, strum, mute, and those are all down strums, by the way. And then we're going to push the chord down, and our strumming hand is going to go up, down, up, down. And then after you hit that last strum, you're just going to stop. So instead of playing the entire breakdown 2 section, why don't we just do from the B flat chord halfway through to the F chord just to get this transition down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And notice that to make that last note short, I just let the pressure up off the strings, kind of like if I was getting ready for a muted strum. Let's play breakdown number 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So guys, that brings us to the outro. The first part of the outro is really simple. It's just the main riff 4 times. And then we've got something a little bit different after that. The last 2 measures of the outro have a riff that uses the pentatonic scale and uses some slides and some hammer-ons, and this is probably the trickiest part of the song. So I'm going to play it for you, and then we'll jump in and learn it. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to start with our ring finger on the 5th fret, and that's generally where I start the slide from. If you wanted to start it from somewhere else, you could, but I just start from the 5th fret. So what I'm going to do is pluck the A string right at the same time as I start sliding into the 7th fret. Okay? So that's 7th fret on the A string that we end up on. Then you're going to play the 5th fret, still on the A string. Then we're going to do this little hammer-on pull-off combination from 3rd fret to 5th fret, back to 3rd fret. Then we're going to play the 5th fret on the E string, then go back to the 3rd fret on the A string, then back to the 5th fret on the E string. Now we're going to do another hammer-on pull-off combination. So that's 3, 5, 3 on the E string. 3rd fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret. Then we're going to play the 4th fret on the C string. Then we're going to go back to the 3rd fret on the E string, then back to the 4th fret on the C string. Now we're going to do another hammer-on. We're going to do 2 on the C string, then hammer on to the 4th fret. Now we're going to play the 3rd fret on the E string. Then we're going to play 2nd fret on the C string. Then we're going to play the open C string. And then now we're going to strum a C5 chord. So you might notice on this C5 chord, since my middle finger was already on the 3rd fret of the E string from the last few notes of the pattern, I just decided instead of barring the 3rd fret on the E string and the 3rd fret on the A string, I was going to use the middle finger for the 3rd fret on the E string and the ring finger for the 3rd fret on the A string. and then strum the chord. So let's do that lick together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for the record, sometimes I like to do a pull off from the 2 to the open before I do the C5 chord, but you could also play both those notes. Let's do that lick one more time a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so now let's do the whole outro. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed learning this lesson.
So I hope you guys had a lot of fun learning this song with Steven. It's a lot of fun to play. It's a really great practice for hammer-ons and pull-offs, as well as jamming alongside another instrument. So if you guys haven't yet, you can click this link right here to get the tabs, as well as the backing tracks. Remember, we have the U-bass backing track available for download in 3 different speeds, and there was that really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer where you can interact with the tab. You can slow it down to any speed you wish. Just really, really awesome feature. So guys, you can click that link right there to check out all of those assets, or just go to the site and do a search for Fingerpicking Etude number 16. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.